Now I know what you're thinking. Ben, you gorgeous fool. How could you talk about the best way to introduce someone to Hartnell and not talk about an unearthly child? Well...
So Ben, what I want you to do is zoom on this and every chance you get, even if I'm like just mid-sentence, I want you to show off my unearthly child statue at every single opportunity. Thank you. So, Doctor Who is one of the UK's chief cultural exports, but it's also one of the most underrated television shows in history. As the UK's most underestimated man, I think it's only right that I decide this category. What's the most underrated Hartnell story? Well, it's his first. Everyone loves 1/4 of An Unearthly Child. It is a beloved story, but the second they actually do the time travel that part 1 sets up, everybody in the fandom collectively loses interest. I don't understand this. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that I only saw this fairly recently, and it went down much better than it would if I was a kid with no attention span. If you go into An Unearthly Child expecting a Doctor Who story, the first Doctor Who story, you're not really going to get it, because it's not there yet. It's not cooked. That sounds like a criticism, but it's not. Part 1 is atmospheric and moody in all the ways everybody says it is. It's actually well shot, thick with mist and shadows. I think it's one of the greatest cliffhangers I've ever seen. You know what Part 1 is? It's foreshadowing. So much of it is setting up what you're gonna see in Parts 2, 3, 4. Part 1 hints to savages and cavemen, telling us that it's a story about humanity in general and elitism. The First Doctor compares time travel to television, to the new invention of television. That's clever. You know how End of the World just goes straight to alienating? It just tries to hook the audience by being as weird and out there as it can be. That's what the cavemen do, for me at least. We can't have an adventure serial because the sheer premise is so terrifying and alienating that the first story has to be a survivalist exercise. And it's completely 100% character motivated. This is why Hartnell era is so grossly underestimated. To me, the story is very much about the First Doctor's high civilization snobbery. He talks down to Ian and Barbara, comparing them to savages, and then what do? We use time travel, go to its logical endpoint extreme. It's completely 100% character motivated. And for all the Doctor's superiority, all of the gang are still overpowered by actual primitives. Where does it get them? It shows us how this early Doctor sees us. Caveman Times is just a perfect setting. We could have been rubbing noses with King Henry VIII or William Shakespeare to understand the premise. But no, instead we've got a really simple, exaggerated parallel to our main characters and their dynamic at this time. Woo! That's what stories do. Something Doctor Who immediately forgets and never really returns to as we take a dive into adventuring. It can't be a family adventure serial because there's no morality. There's no good guys and there's not really any bad guys. Morality hasn't developed yet. The closest we have to an antagonist is the Doctor himself, and because that's what Unearthly Child is about, he has to absolutely ambiguously be a human in this one, right? For the whole thing to work. A future human, cold, reasoning versus primal emotion. And then our middlemen in Ian and Barbara both reacting to the situation in very, very appropriate ways. Ian and Barbara are terrified in this story that go above just being damsels in distress. Ian's the one who has to take some kind of moral charge, relating back to his experience as a teacher. Barbara is actually quite relatable in the fact that she's screaming the whole way through the episode because I would be also. They were in London 10 seconds ago, and now they're in the jungle with wild cats and cavemen, with an untrustworthy pilot. It's a freaky story. But nonetheless, the four are hoisted back to the very beginning of human organisation and teamwork. And what do the four of them need to do to survive this whole ordeal? Those two things I just said. Thematic cohesion. You guys are too hard on the caveman politics. The gag alone that we've been doing this whole recognisable two-party political system since the beginning of time, that's funny. Didn't they also go further with the death of Old Mother, giving these dudes actual motivations for wanting to be leader? They end up with actual dimension. But since it's so easy to split off part 1 from 2, 3 and 4, because it was designed that way, 2, 3 and 4 get very unfairly misaligned. Heaven Sent, fantastic story in isolation, but is only one part of a bigger whole. You need Hellbent to appreciate Heaven Sent in its entirety. Same with the Doctor using a rock to hit a caveman. Remember, Khal is not stronger than the whole tribe. Yes, but not everyone can be leader. Where we come from, everyone can make fire. Hey guys, do you think I could be like a political allegory to this? No? Okay. Let's just watch the Daleks instead. There's a bit in this where Ian defers power to the Doctor and he elects him leader. And I think that really shows you how scared he is. The stakes are made simple by simple antagonists. The cavemen have antiquated gender roles. What matters is that terror absolutely unites our four leads in a way that the Daleks just doesn't. Unearthly Child has a beginning, a middle, and end, not just a beginning, and a beginning. I hope I've made my point. Part 1 is really fucking good though. If you stop thinking of the Doctor as Doctor Who, you can actually just see him as a pitiable, scared old man who got immediately proven wrong when thrown into time and space. In fact, the superiority complex becomes even funnier in the future going forward when we find out, his grand civilization that he comes from, they're not meant to do this shit. He cannot even pilot the TARDIS. That's the episode's final gag. You couldn't ever understand time and space, my boy. Your little savage brain must be imploding. Also, I cannot pilot it, and I'm scared. Fans might feel they need to skip over these episodes. Hell, the Peter Cushing movies definitely did. But if you do make Skara the TARDIS's first destination, you miss out on all this rich character work. You miss out on 4 episodes designed perfectly to establish our cast and really pitch the show in the most exciting way it can do. The series could exist without these episodes, but I think not only would you be cheating yourself of one of the all-time actual classics, I think an episode like this, being the show's priorities, separates it from being sci-fi pulp to forever family show. I'm happy things turned out the way they did, because I actually quite happen to like the TV show Doctor Who.